Welcome to the REALL Academy, brought to you each Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by the
Systems Doctors,
Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor, best-selling authors, consultants, and speakers of Create and Educate LLC. Create and Educate LLC is an educational consultant and literary firm that provides professional development to schools and community. Their goal is to transform organizations with the REALL Resilient framework used to increase their school report card grades 2 and 3 grade levels in 1 year. REALL stands for Respect, Excellence, Accountability, Literacy, and Leadership. This framework is used to coach leaders and teachers and build student efficacy while putting systems in place that aligns the work of the school improvement, making the process manageable. When the work is manageable, teachers and leaders don't stress out or burn out.
the Systems Doctors
Alignment systems are designed to help schools evolve and grow, all while instituting protocols and processes designed to promote collaboration and collegiality. The implementation of the alignment framework prevents some of the most common problems in education, where leaders sometimes aren't sure where to start, or in our new age of educating, leaders need a trusted sounding board that allows them to be vulnerable and transparent, preventing loneliness at the top. The framework doesn't just help leaders, but also prevents teachers from burning out from too many initiatives and embracing teachers as they are the experts. Finally, the framework extends to the children, helping them get engaged in school and solving a nationwide problem. Alignment systems are frequently referred to as a key element of success in the improvement process. In the sport of rowing, all rowers must put their oars in the water, succinctly creating a system for their boat to reach maximum speed. So schools that want to improve are bringing in
the Systems Doctors
to teach them all about the alignment systems that must be in place for school improvement to be accomplished at high levels. The dynamic duo provides insights into educational topics through their international platform, which includes educators, parents, and community members as a way to support important entities that make communities thrive. This is their way to pay it forward and provide the support they needed through their platform. Take a look. People who work with the
Systems Doctors
describe them as an excellent and inspiring group of leaders. They get into the weeds of work with leaders through their TrustMate Institute that you should contact them about today by filling out the contact form on their website.
Happy Saturday, everyone. It is Super Saturday. I would like to welcome you to the REALL Academy with your very own Systems DoctHers, brought to you by Create and Educate. I am Dr. Sheikah Houston.
Good morning, and I'm Dr. Tammy Taylor.
Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning.
We are disappointed. Principal Hurt was having technical difficulties. We did reach out to him to bring him on early with us because that's what we do in the REALL fam. We are a REALL family, so we definitely wanted him to be able to finish what he started this morning, which was going to be something great. But he said he's going to continue it next week. So we wanted to fill the dead space, make sure that there wasn't lag time. So we just came on a few minutes early. So welcome again to the REALL Academy. The REALL framework that you see in the middle of the screen here that you heard about in the promo, this is what helped us increase our report cards 1 and 2 grade levels in 1 year. It also made sure that my school was a STEAM School of Excellence, a Palmetto Silver School for Academic Growth, and Tammy School is an NWEA case study school and an Admentum Showcase school. We have served in classrooms, also in leadership roles at the school and district levels, And we also serve on multiple boards in our community if this is your first time tuning in and you're not familiar with who we are.
And if you're wondering how we empower, it's through our TrustMates Institute that allows us to provide opportunities and space for people to collaborate with us and other leaders with like goals while gaining our school transformation systems and making them your own. As you personalize our 3 systems to transformation, those are systems of respect, systems of excellence, and systems of accountability. It will help you as a leader on your path to transforming your school.
Most definitely. We also empower through our Build My Sister Collaborative, where Black women learn to lead their lives with authenticity and through genuine sisterhood. The Real Me for Girls is something that we offer as a K-12 empowerment program. And right now that is being piloted in a high school in the Virgin Islands. And we are very excited about that. Pilot is going well. So if any of these things are something that you need, please make sure you fill out the contact form on our website so that we can get into contact with you so that we can get you the help that you need. So if you don't mind, please do all of the things that the platforms do, like, share, subscribe, comment, and make sure you do not keep us to yourself, but get the word out about the help that I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate.
And we are saying please and thank you for that. We pay it forward each week with this live stream as a part of the Fantastic Four, beginning with Principal Sean Hurt at 10 a.m. on Saturdays, which we refer to as Super Saturday. And then yours truly, we're here with you from Create and Educate, the REALL Academy, starting at 10:30. And then 10:55, our mentor, the GOAT, comes on with the AP and New Principals Academy with Principal Kafele. And then on Sunday evening, we round this out with PGP Podcast with Dr. Moreno and Principal Josh Tovar.
Most definitely. So now it is time for our Real Fam roll call. And I've put up a number of the comments already. But AP Patrick Lawrence, we appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of the Real Fam. Miss Dot McKeever Jeter, we appreciate you always. Melissa Jones Chunu out of Oklahoma, we appreciate you, sis. September Devance Van Daniels, thank you for joining us. Principal Sean Hurt, you know we always got your back. Lynette Wilson, thank you for joining us. David Bell, we appreciate you being a part of the Real Fam. And let's see, Miss Kenyelle Williams, thank you for joining us. Dr. Joe Griffin out on the West Coast, we appreciate you, Doc. Stacy L. Joy, thank you for joining us. Our other brother in education, Principal Josh Tovar, Buenos dias, Josh. And I think I got everybody, and we'll finish putting up those comments just as well. But that brings us to episode 168 of the REALL Academy, Systems of Excellence to Transform Tier I ELA Instruction. So last week, many of you were with us when we had on our math guest. We talked about math, so we can't leave out ELA. So we wanted to make that a part of the discussion as well. We talked last week about Tier I instruction being everyone's lesson. So we are still in that same vein with ELA. But in education, we talk a lot about making sure students are college and career ready. And a lot of times in different states, we all have profiles of a graduate. And in education, a lot of times we talk about this, but are we really versed in college and career trends? That's a question that we have to ask ourselves. Are we making sure as leaders that our teachers are versed in this? Because if we're saying we're making sure children are college and career ready and we don't know the trends, how ready are they going to be? So we have to make sure that we are knowledgeable about that. And this is something that teachers may not have time to do. So this is where leaders come in and make sure that you are putting that information in front of them. But before we can ever get aligned with that, we do have to make sure for reading and literacy that children have those foundational early literacy skills, and there is nobody in the world better to explain early literacy skills than Dr. Tammy Taylor.
Oh, okay, she.
So I'm turning it over to her.
So let's just start with this, because as she said, the foundational skills that come with becoming a literate person start in vitro. Like we know the importance of making sure that your baby that you're carrying can hear language and music, and you've seen studies that talk about why it's important to make sure that you are creating a safe space and an opportunity for babies to hear before they even come, because that whole science of that is a very true thing. And then of course, when babies are here, it becomes the parents' responsibility to talk with them and help them to develop language and make sure that they understand environmental print. That's the reason when most of you are riding down the street with your little one, you're pointing out signs, and that says Target and that says McDonald's. It doesn't even really say McDonald's. It's a big golden arch, but guess what? That says McDonald's to a pre-reader. So when you are getting kids that come into school with those foundational skills in place, it just becomes a natural part of what we do to learn them the next things that are appropriate for teaching them how to read, because it's been proven that learning to read is not a natural thing. It has to be taught, and it has to be systematically taught. And don't mistake us this morning. We are not pro anything. We're not selling any kind of program here. We're just talking to you about how children develop and what you have to do in order to make sure that children are exposed to print-rich environments. Yes, but you also have to help them to understand letters and sounds. Now, again, from homes where this has been happening since before the child was born, it seems very easy. And that's why it seems like it's just a natural part of what happens, when it really isn't. It's a progression of skills that have been taught over time. So what we want to provide for teachers in our classrooms is the opportunity for them to understand exactly how we are to teach those foundational skills. How do we teach children their alphabet and their sounds when they don't it's like a foreign language when you have not had that experience, and not all children get it. So we have to provide them with resources that allow for them to do exactly that. And there are a plethora of them out there. So I'll say, and I'll just speak to what we can do with any program, with any type of early literacy interventions for students. And that is making sure that children are able to understand the letters represent a sound or some sounds. And that comes again with whatever resource you decide you're using. But once you make the connection and they start to understand that letters and sounds go together, it becomes much easier for the teacher to be able to provide them with opportunities to put those sounds together and start to form words. And then, of course, that's when we start to teach them concepts of print and all those things that help to make them strong readers. Now, I will say this: if you are in a school where your teachers don't have access to manipulatives like letter tiles and magnetic letters for children to manipulate so that they are able to create those words from the sounds that teachers are giving them. And I'll say this, we use UFly at our school, and it is absolutely a phenomenal tool to use when it is used with fidelity. It is a very strong tool to help children to be able to make sense of that very confusing thing that happens when you are not exposed to that very early on. So just being sure that you, as a leader of that building, first of all, understand what all that means. And I don't mean the science part of that, because that's important, but the scientific aspect of things, when you understand that, does put things into perspective for you. But I mean, understand it from and through the lens of the teacher so that you can support them and making sure that those lessons make sense to the children.
Definitely, Tammy. Good morning, Principal Kafele. The
morning.
GOAT is here. We always shout him out anytime he shows up. We appreciate your support, and he's always here with us as a part of the Real Fam. One thing I will add to what Tammy stated as knowing these skills, one thing as leaders, your clientele, usually the more students you're going to get are from the parents that you currently have. So not only equipping your teachers with these early foundational literacy skills is important, but also transferring this to your parents who may not have knowledge of this. We can't assume that everybody knows that this is how children learn how to read. I've even spoken with some of my own family members about making sure I used to sit my children on the bed and fold up clothes and have a full conversation with them, because this is how they develop language, but that is not common knowledge for everybody. So leveling up your parents on that will just help you make sure that children come to you with some skills that you all can work with. And the program is UFly. When Tammy and I increased our schools, our report card grade levels, my school went from the 17th percentile in reading to the 97th. What was yours?
Ours was, I think, the 7th to the 97.
Right. And so instituting reading and how that should look in an elementary school and a middle school where you have children who are deficient in their reading abilities and skills, that is something that we specialize in helping people do, because we were able to do that in our own schools. And we can also show you how to institute that resource properly as well, with making sure that your teachers get the right training and how to do that, how to make it a part of your multi-tiered system of supports for your students, where it's logically embedded into your curriculum as well.
One thing too that you have to remember, and that goes along with what Sheikah's saying about making sure that it starts to make sense for other things that are happening in the school, like MTSS. The thing that you will find, if you really do make sure that foundationally you are teaching these children and strengthening them in decoding and phonics and phonemic awareness and all those things early, when they get to second and third grade, it'll blow your mind how they are able to manipulate text, because they have what they need in order to be able to process through text now. And that sort of changes the trajectory of what reading looks like when you have readers. Now you have readers.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have children that are in the third and fourth grade trying to decode text because they can't figure out what these words are. They've got to struggle through decoding the words. So it's worth the investment early on.
Most definitely. And my secondary people, do not let people tell you just because children have gotten to the sixth grade and they may be on a second or third grade reading level that they cannot grow in reading, because that is not true. 97% of children can learn how to read. Most of the time, if they are not growing, it's because they're not receiving the correct intervention. So if you're working on comprehension, which is what a lot of people do at the secondary level, because that's what they know, they have not been taught these early literacy skills to work on decoding and all of those other things with students. they will not grow if they are not receiving the correct intervention. So we have to make sure teachers, one, believe children can read, they can learn how to read. 97% of them can learn how to read. And we have to give them the proper training and the proper resources to be able to help them do that.
So secondary principals, find you a trusted colleague at the elementary level and let them help you help your teachers, because that will change the way that children respond to text when you get them what they need. Because once they know, it's kind of a done deal.
Exactly. So once our children do have those foundational skills, we have to move beyond reading and writing as using that just to in absentia or as a skill. We have to make sure that they understand that reading and writing now can be used to understand, to create meaning, which translates directly to those employability skills that we should have researched. So these skills that are critical for our future are critical thinking skills, complex problem solving skills, digital literacy, and adaptability. We have to make sure also that when we're looking at Tier 1 instruction, that our teachers know the difference between what curriculum is, what standards are, what pacing guides are, and what resources are. You would be really surprised at how many teachers confuse, oh, I've got to stay with the curriculum. The curriculum is what you're using to teach. It is not your pacing. That's what you use your pacing guide for, but you also have to understand how to unpack the standards. So you have to make sure that you are truly that instructional leader and you recognize that your teachers know how to do this. And if they don't, that you know how to coach them how to do that. And you may not know it per se yourself. You know what it may look like, and you may have to get your literacy coach to co-teach with them or coach them through that process. But they must know what that is, and some don't. The other thing that we want to make sure that happens as far as when we're looking at these employability skills is, well, before I get to that, they also have to know how to make sure that they're using assessments correctly. And I personally like personalized learning better. So all assessments should not just be getting ready for the test. We do have our CFAs, our benchmarks for that. But when we have personalized learning, it's more meaningful for students. And then we're really getting to those real employability skills when it's project-based learning, when it's problem-based learning, when it's things that they're actually researching, they're using reading, how you actually use reading in order to solve problems versus just in a course or in a class
Exactly.
where we make it stale and not interesting for students.
And I love that, because when you're thinking about this from an early childhood perspective, because the disconnect is often that we don't make this make sense. We don't make it matter. And if we don't make it make sense to the teachers who are teaching the youngest children, that this is all a part of the plan to success at the end. Like, this isn't just about what's happening in this pre-K classroom or a 3-year-old classroom or 2-year-old classroom. This is about what's going to happen at the end of all this when we want to produce a productive, employable child who is going to graduate from high school and go do something. Mm-hmm. And we want them to be able to do something and be able to do it well. So what we have to be sure we're doing is making it make sense all the way down to pre-K, that what we're doing really does make a difference and it's a part of a master plan. So if we don't make it make sense, then what happens is that disconnect becomes so disjointed, and then you have the blame game where everybody's blaming the people below them rather than us working together to make this something that is beneficial for children. That's what our vision for education looks like. That's what our vision for helping children to be successful in the long run looks like. So when you have the opportunity, administrators down in the elementary and primary grades, make sure that you're making those connections for your teachers, having vertical articulation discussions so that you hear from the next grade span what is it that they absolutely need to know when they get to us. And so that's where we can start with deconstructing. Shika talked about looking at those standards. Yes, those standards make a major difference. But what we have to know as administrators is everything is not going to be explicitly pointed out in standards. We have to take what we know about children and what they have to know and make all that make sense for our teachers so that they are providing instruction on what children need and not wasting time. Because as Shika said, you're intervening on comprehension strategies. The child doesn't know their alphabet. Guess what? They're never going to be able to read well because we're not intentional about what we're working on.
And I've seen too many times people take data to sentence children to not being able to learn. Oh, they're not growing, so we must refer them to special ed. No, ma'am. You have not been providing them the correct intervention.
And if they are not growing, we have to look in the mirror is what we have to do. We have to, because here's the thing. It does not matter where a child is on the spectrum of being absolutely brilliantly gifted or being tremendously in need. The child should be growing. If children aren't growing, we have to look introspectively at what's happening in the classroom, which is why we're talking about Tier I instruction this morning.
And sometimes there may be a need for a referral.
And it could be.
In most cases, it has not been the case that I have seen. I want to answer Timothy's question. Yes, that program is out of Florida. And when you don't understand what this looks like from a leadership perspective, what the frustration that Joanne is expressing is exactly what happens, because Principal Hurt, who teaches us how to look at that data, when you're an administrator during the summer, you should be looking at what those classes look like. And if that variation is so wide, you do not put groups of students together like this that frustrate teachers. There is no way within a class period that you can get to the whole spectrum of reading from K to 12 by one person. These children need to be divided up some type of way, logically, for the teacher to be able to really effectively work with them. And then the other thing that you have to think about, because we have to humanize this, children are humans as well. If I'm in 12th grade and I'm on a kindergarten level, do you think I want my peers who are on the 12th grade reading level to hear me struggling with kindergarten words? This is not humane for children. So we've got to make it humane as well. When children are in small groups and they are with like peers sometimes that are having the same struggles, they will be more vulnerable about where they are in reading and actually try. When we put them in these classes where we're embarrassing them because of their abilities, they will shut down, they will act up, or they will do nothing.
They'll put their hood on and put their head down. Now, I do want to say to you though, Joanne, one of the things that we can do, if you are in a situation where that is your reality, because that does happen, you have to approach that with differentiated teaching. There is no way to teach that holistically in a situation like that. And that's something that is a specialty for us. Like, we can help you with making sure that you know how to make that make sense for that context. Tim, please reach out if you want to see the program. We have it, so you are welcome to come anytime and take a look at that.
Most definitely. And before we get to the end, we also want to make sure that once children do learn these foundational skills and we've put them into practice, some of the strategies that can be used to get to these workforce ready skills that we're talking about, that we talked about earlier, that critical thinking, that complex problem solving, digital literacy, adaptability, making sure that children are creators. So what that looks like as far as a classroom strategy are things like Socratic seminar, debates, peer-led discussions. This is at probably at the higher end of the elementary level too, as well as secondary level. The personalized learning could be things that like the creating a podcast, things that the children are actually interested in that you can relate reading and research to. And it is so easy to do this to where you can give them choice boards on things that they're interested in. So many times as a leader, I saw where teachers were just using tradition around what they selected as units of study for reading, or the novel sets that were selected for reading are just based on, oh, well, this is what we've been doing for 20 years. So we're going to continue to read Hatchet.
And please make sure that we are not saying, you understand that this isn't what we're saying. Nothing's wrong with Hatchet as a novel, but
No,
Hatchet might be something for a particular group in the classroom, but you are going to have to figure out like task cards and as Sheikah said, choice boards. You're going to have to set up stations that are that matter, stations that are based on what the needs in your classroom are, not just we're going to put them on this program. And that's the differentiation. I'm meeting with the group, and I'm not even meeting with a group about what the group needs. I'm meeting with the group because I have to do small groups. I have a group back here, but I'm not meeting with anything intentional that is specific to these children. And until we get that part right,
most definitely. And just make sure that your teachers are provided with the right training and the resources. And that's where we come in as leaders to guide that. So we are at the end of our time. Please make sure you hop over to Principal Kafele's page. He has a great guest on culturally relevant leadership. We hope to see you back here next week for a Super Saturday. And you all keep it real the rest of your weekend, and we will see you back here next week.
Daylight saving time Sunday, y'all. I love getting out.
Hour sleep. Thank you.